right, so in 9.2 notes, let's talk more about triangles, okay, and doing areas of some of these that look a little bit different. Okay, now the key, once again, is what do you know about base and height? You're supposed to know that base and height meet at right angles. So it's important to look for that right angle. So here we go. In this first picture, let's put a right angle there, 5 and 12. And ask you for the area and perimeter of the entire triangle. Okay? First thing you should be able to do, find the third side. So you should recognize this as nothing reduces, but it would be, if you want to call this x, you could do Pythagorean theorem if you don't remember it, but 5, 12, 13 is a triple. So we're hoping you should be able to go straight to telling me that length is 13. Okay, so for area, then your work is going to say, what's the area equation? 1/2 base times height. So you can write that, or the minimum you can write is 1/2 and show me the base and the height. What are the two numbers that meet at the right angle? I don't care which one's the base and which one's the height. We've seen that the order doesn't matter when we multiply them. Normally you and I would call it base is 5 and the height is 12, but look at it sideways. What if I just turned that on you? You might think the base is 12 and the height is 5. Does it matter? No, because they're going to be multiplied together. That's why we tell you the key is that they are the numbers that meet at right angles. Okay, so 1/2 of 5 times 12. Again, order doesn't matter, so 1/2 of 5, most of us probably don't want to say that that's 5 halves or 2.5 times 12 if we were trying to do it without a calculator. Wouldn't it be easier to do 1/2 of 12, which is 6, and 6 times 5 is 30. Okay, so this would be 30 units squared. Of course, you could still do, but it's the hardest, 5 times 12, which is 60, and divide by 2, which is 30. Okay, perimeter, make sure you're telling me P equals. For this one, we said no special equation. You're just showing me that you're adding the sides. This is the minimum you can show me, and we should get perimeter is, what, 30 units? So again, we're seeing those values. They don't mean the same thing, but we're seeing those values can match, okay, once in a while. All right, the next picture. Let's draw this in, which would be an altitude. Okay, just kind of remembering that, because remember, altitudes meet at right angles. So if I put that in there, and we label this whole side 14, this 3, this side 5, and this side the square root of 109. So I pretty much have everything labeled for you. I just want to know what's the area and the perimeter, again, of the solid original triangle before anything was manipulated. Okay? All right, now some people will say, can I find the area of this triangle? I'll just put a 1 in here because it's a right triangle, and the area of this triangle, and add them together. Of course, you can always fall back on that, guys, if you're having an issue. But I'm going to get rid of that and say you can find the area in one step, okay? As long as you know what your equation means. So I know that I need 1/2 base times height. So I'm going to start. The base and the height are the numbers that meet at right angles. So here's the right angle, and I notice this is meeting at the right angle, and so is this. Okay, so the base and the height numbers, I don't care which one's which, are 14 and 3. So 1/2 of 14 times 3. Again, most of us probably don't want to do 1/2 of 3 and then times 14. So why don't you just do 1/2 of 14, which is 7, and 7 times 3 is 21. It would be units squared, and we'd be on our way. Okay, perimeter. Remember, it's perimeter of the entire large triangle. Okay, so write out what you're going to add together. And we would be doing 5 plus 14 plus root 109. Okay, so 19 plus root 109 units. All right, let's go to a couple rows down. Let's go to this. I'll use the one on the left here. Let's give you this length is 10. This side is 25. I'm writing it on the inside for a reason. This side is square root of 865. And they also put this in the picture. With a right angle there. And they tell you the length of this dashed line is 24. Okay. Well, the triangle that is solid, right? Notice there's no right angles in it. That's the issue. And so I am glad that I see a right angle somewhere that they drew in for me. Okay. And so if we're talking about, we'll just call it height for a minute. If we're talking about the height of this triangle, guys, remember height is from a place straight down to the ground. Okay. So since this one isn't turned, this is a perfect example to say that. So our height can't be the 25, right? Our height is from the top straight down to the ground. That's why the right angle is showing up there. So your height has to be the 24. Okay. Now, your base, remember, it's got to be the length that meets that at a right angle. If you were to extend it, notice, if you were to extend the side that's in the picture, it would meet that at a right angle. That's why it's in the picture. But the actual base that you're using is this length. You can't make it any longer than that. Okay. So your base and height numbers are 24 and 10. Okay. And therefore, here's your area equation. Either write 1/2 base times height first, or this as a minimum. 1/2 the base of 10, height of 24. Again, whatever order you want to do that in, to me, half of 24 is 12 times 10 add a 0 is the easiest to do. 120 units squared. Perimeter, I am okay just with perimeter. If it's all labeled like this, guys, if you just jumps to the answer. Okay, so if you don't want to write out after you've done it a few times what you're adding together, you can jump straight to the answer. For this one, however, I think I might write it just to make sure you know where it's coming from in the notes. Remember, we're going around the solid triangle. So you should be adding 10, 25, and the square root of 865. Okay, so we're looking at 35 plus the square root of 865. And that would be units. Okay. All right, let's go down here. We'll use the one on the left and the one on the right, and I think we will have enough practice. All right, for this picture, let's mark those the same, give you a length of 24 here and 20 here. All right, so this is back to a little review of two sides of the triangle are equal. That means it's what type of triangle? Isosceles. Okay, remember in an isosceles triangle, guys, you can drop what you're needing, right? Because I don't see any right angles in there. You have to have a right angle to do area. So you've done this before where you've dropped your own altitude. That's the same thing you're going to do. Okay, so you're physically going to drop the altitude. You have to know a couple things. It meets at a right angle, which is what you needed. And it also cuts this side in half. So now you know each of these is 12. Okay, 12 and 12, if you will. And then based on the labeling, the two original legs were marked the same, so you know that's 20. Okay, and so now I need the height. Remember, I've got a base. There's the entire base. And the height are the two lengths that meet at right angles. Okay, so those are all the lengths that I'm looking for. I know one of them's 24, but I need that height. So that's the work I'm going to do now. I'm going to take the 12 and the 20 and reduce by 4. That'll give me 3 and 5. Okay, 5 is in the correct place for a triple, so I know it is a 3, 4, 5 triple. And that if I multiply by 4 that I reduced by originally, I will have 16. Okay, so now that 16 is becoming like the important purple stuff, okay, that we've got circled. All right, so if I'm just asking you to find the area of this, I'm assuming you can find perimeter by now. You can either write out 1/2 base times height or start with the numbers. 1/2, the entire base is 24 and the height is 16 because those are the numbers that meet at right angles. So half of 24 is 12. 12 times 16, 192 units squared. Okay. And then, of course, perimeter. We'll just go ahead and write it. You would just be doing 20 plus 20 plus 24. I'll go ahead and put it since it's video notes. Okay, but if you can skip that step and go straight to it for perimeter only, I'm okay with that. Okay, and so your final answer would be 64 units. Okay. All right, last one. Let's go to the triangle on the right. And this time, I am going to mark all the sides equal and tell you this length is 8. And that's all I'm giving you. So I hope the first thing you're thinking is, well, it's what type of triangle if all the sides are equal? Equilateral. Okay, I hope the next thing you're thinking is I need a right angle. Otherwise, I don't have a base and a height. Okay, so again, this is you knowing what to do with an altitude. You did the same thing in the last problem. It was isosceles. Now if you drop an altitude, it's just equilateral, but it still cuts right through the middle. Okay, so now it makes a right angle. Make sure that you know that that was marked equal. Okay, so maybe I'll use a different color. Those were marked equal. That's what originally happened. And you know it cuts the side in half. Okay, well, you should have known that all the sides were 8 at this point. This was 8, and so each of these little parts is 4. Likewise, in an equilateral triangle, if all the sides are equal, then all the angles are equal. I claim you should know what they are. So we're talking about the big triangle. Okay, I'll just kind of think about over here. If these are all equal, then all the angles across from them are equal. Likewise. So therefore, since they add to 180, 180 divided by 3 would tell you each of those was 60 degrees. Okay, so I claim that you know that this is 60 degrees. And if this is 90, this is 30. Okay, so you've got 30, 60, 90 triangles showing up again. And that should make sense, because look at the length. The length across from the short leg is 4, and across from the hypotenuse, I'm supposed to multiply by 2. You should actually start recognizing that if something's double or half, you must have a 30, 60, 90 in there somewhere. Okay. All right, so to find the height of the big triangle, you're really looking for what's across from the 60 degrees, or what's the long leg of that right triangle. Okay, so in other words, if this side is 4, short leg, the long leg then is multiplied by root 3. So this is 4 root 3. All right, you have everything in the picture now to be able to start your work. So area is going to equal 1/2. I want the whole triangle in one equation. Okay, one formula. So I'm hoping you're thinking base and height meeting at right angles are these lengths. This base and this height. Okay, so 1/2. The whole base is 8, and the height is 4√3. All right, so 1/2 of 8 is 4, and 4 times 4√3 is 16√3 units squared. All right, perimeter. Well, the easiest way to do perimeter is I've got 3 sides. I like to put the number in front, and they're all a length of 8. So 3 times 8 is 24 units. Okay. All right, I hope that helps with triangles. Just keep in mind, guys, that base and height are always meeting at right angles. That's the key. Go for it.